What are 4 changes that might help improve your life? Let's go for a walk and I'll share with you 4 that I think are worth considering. And the first one is thinking about changing jobs more often. Multiple studies have shown that if you change jobs in the 3 to 5 year range, you're much more likely to outperform financially than folks that stay in their jobs 7, 10, or more years. Now, this one comes with an asterisk near it, right? If you have a job that you love, if you have a job where you enjoy the team, you find it intellectually stimulating, and you can have balance in your life, those are hard to find, and it might be worthwhile staying in your current job. But the challenge is oftentimes employers don't fully recognize the current market value of their employees, particularly if they've been with the company for 7+ years. They're used to giving them cost of living raises, occasionally promotions, but oftentimes your worth in the marketplace is quite a bit higher. And even if you want to stay in the current job, it can be worthwhile exploring and seeing, what is my market value outside of my current job? Now, I share this as somebody that knows what the studies are. I've seen it happen for my clients where they've been able to get nicer raises if they were willing to leave their job. I've been in my current job for over 20 years. I consider myself super fortunate to work for a company that I like a lot. I like the team. It's intellectually challenging. I have balance in my life. And I feel that my contributions have been recognized financially. So I don't feel a need to do this. But I can share that multiple studies have indicated you're more likely to get that market salary, you're more likely to get bumps in your wages if you're at least willing to leave. So I did want to share that. Okay, number 2, and this is something that I practice in spades. The older I get, the more I find that I listen as opposed to talk. And I know, everybody on YouTube knows me on YouTube where I'm, it's one-way communication. I'm doing all the talking. But when I meet with people one-on-one, I tend to do, quite a bit less talking. And in fact, it's way less than half of the conversation. I find asking interesting questions and giving people the space to fully answer those questions, frankly, from a financial advising standpoint, the longer I've done this, the more I find myself listening and asking questions and truly hearing and understanding what people are saying. Also reading their body language, right? A lot of what is communicated is what's not said. And as a financial advisor, I think that's critically important. So, I think of a conversation really as we're tossing a ball back and forth to each other, and the person that is speaking has the ball. And I'm happy to speak if that person tosses the ball to me. But, if they tell me they just did a family vacation to Orlando, when I was 30 years old, when I was in my 20s, I would have jumped in and said, oh, I was just in Orlando a couple weeks ago. And now I've learned not to do that. And I have to tell you, I find it much more interesting, and I have better conversations now that I've developed this philosophy of when the ball's handed to me, I'll jump in. Or if I have something really important to share, I'm going to jump in. But other than that, when the person is speaking, has the ball, I tend to let that person keep the ball until they ask me, hey, have you ever been to Orlando? Or, they're going there and they're looking for recommendations on where to stay, or maybe how I navigated Disney World with my kids. So that's number 2 is and I know it's hard to do this, and it probably sounds negative, but talk less, listen more. And I certainly don't mean it at all negative, but it's just brought to me a lot of joy and a lot of understanding of the other person that I wouldn't have had if I had talked at the level that I used to talk when I was in my 20s and 30s. Okay, the third one is going to be a little controversial, and that is the idea of having a balanced life versus focusing. And where I've come out, having now lived 58 years, and done both, done periods of my time where I focus intensely, tends to be more on my work. But when I focus intensely on that, or if there's a challenge in my family, one of my kids is sick, and I have to help out, and I focus a lot on that. What I have found out is there's periods of my life where I have where it's needed, and I have the time in order to focus, right? If you look at, work and family and hobbies and relationships outside of your family, when you look at these various hats that we all wear, let's say that there's 5 or 6 of them. I find out I can choose. I have personally found if I'm in focus mode, I can really only handle 2 of those at a time. And unfortunately, I have to be willing to let some of those other items go. Now, I'm now at the stage in my life where I want a lot more balance, right? Work is still really important to me. I get a lot of joy from work, but so are relationships, so are experiences that, I may not be able to enjoy in the future. So, I look at it like I can have everything I want, but I can't have everything I want all at once. And so even when I'm in balance mode, I typically have to choose 3 or 4 areas that are important to me. And for my wife, I think it was even more challenging. How do you be a super mom and be really good at work, and all the other responsibilities that she felt was on her shoulders? And, I felt it was a lot harder for her, frankly, in a society. I think it's harder for women to have that balance and to do it all because, I think, I could be wrong, but I think our society places a lot more pressures on women than men. Men have a lot of pressures, but I think particularly for a working woman, it's hard to kind of do it all when you have a family at home as well, and you're trying to be super mom and trying to be super employee. So my hats are off to all the women out there trying to manage it all, and I know that can be impossible. It's really hard to do that as a father and a man. And as I looked at my wife's life, she had even more things on her plate. Okay, so that's number 3 is understanding what phase you're in. Are you in balance phase or are you in focus mode? And if you're in focus mode, picking the 2 things really that you can focus on. Okay, the next thing that I think can bring a lot of joy into your life, and it's going to be controversial again, is leave your phone behind occasionally. When I go out with my friends, when I'm with my wife, I try when I'm with my grown kids as well, to keep my phone on quiet and or just leave my phone in the car. If I'm meeting my kids at a restaurant, to be able to focus with them, because boy, our phones can just steal so much time away from us, right? There's constantly notices popping up on our phones. And I think before we had smartphones, when they were just cell phones, it was a lot easier to leave that phone at home. But now we're kind of all, unfortunately, addicted to our phones. So I think it's super healthy, and it allows me to focus on the person in front of me if I just leave that phone at home. If I put it in my suit jacket, if I put it in my shirt pocket, if I put it in the pocket in my pants, it's more likely to distract me. So I find it easier to just leave that phone behind. The funny thing is, I think all of us, when we look back on a day, we probably enjoyed the day better if we used our phones less, but it's just so tempting to keep using our phones. So that's number 4, leave the phone behind. And I'm a bad offender of this as well. So I do what I can, and I think we all do what we can there. Okay, and the last item I have is to say no more often. A lot of us feel pressure to do a lot of things. We're involved in organizations that we care about. We're in helping out other people, and our just human nature is we want to say yes. But you know, when you say yes to one thing, you're really saying no to other things. So I really want to encourage you to say yes cautiously. Now, again, there's phases in your life. There are phases in my life where when it comes to adventures, I just say yes first, right? I'll have years where I say, just say yes, but that's for a specific segment of my life. And in my case, it's for adventures, just to make sure that it's so easy to pass on adventures that have challenges associated with them or high hassle factor. But you look back on the year and those can be some of the best events. But there's an author of a book that is called Hell Yes or No. I believe the author is Derek Sivers, and the basic premise is either you're super excited about doing something or you say no. And I think for a lot of us, it's hard to say no. But I think once we get into the practice of saying no, by saying no to some things, we leave the door where we can open it later and say yes. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has been, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Let's use our time wisely.